Right. Where did I go to school? Well, I became a religion major at Syracuse University in 1970. I entered Syracuse University in 1966 as an art major and basically flunked out and joined the revolution for a while. And then around 1970 went back to school as a religion major after having discovered, if the phone will stop ringing in a minute, after having discovered through reading that I was really most fascinated by a simple question: is what makes people religious? And I got my BA in religious studies at Syracuse and went immediately to a master's program at Florida State and pursued those issues. But it was at Florida State that I was really pushed in the direction of Jewish studies, which was not my original idea. I was much more interested in philosophical theology. But Richard Rubenstein, the person I mentioned earlier, really did me a great service by reminding me that as a Jewish student I would never get a chance to teach Christianity in an American university in the 1970s. And so I should direct my energies either to Buddhism or Judaism, because that's where the Jewish jobs were. And and Buddhist studies is filled with Jews, but that's another question. I wasn't interested in Buddhism. So I began to take Judaism seriously as a career of study, and it was really through my study of Judaism that I began to wonder at one point, why aren't I enjoying this? I began to see the beauty of classical Judaism as an academic student, to the degree that my own commitments to a secular existence were undermined. And I began to see as an option for me living in some kind of Jewish universe. The problem was finding a human community. And I've always been an outsider in every community that I've been involved with, because my particular background and where I'm coming from is very, very different. The academic study of religion changes you if you take it seriously. And I've needed to be in a Jewish environment which was very traditionalist because of my love of ritual. But I'm essentially a liberal, and the closed-mindedness of much of Jewish orthodoxy is very frustrating to me. But the open-mindedness of the liberal Judaisms is just as frustrating, because they stand for nothing. Okay, there's no the ritual life is an option, and if ritual is real, it's not an option, because worlds depend upon it. And my personal judgment is that in the more liberal Jewish communities, very little hinges on Jewish reality. In the Orthodox communities, everything hinges on Jewish reality, and therefore I find myself there, although an unhappy immigrant. You know, and I'm always the anthropologist. There's some part of me which is always the anthropologist, but I find it fascinating, so I make my home there. And it's got its frustrations, there's no question about it, but I couldn't imagine any other way for myself. So that's sort of who I am. I got my doctoral degree at Brown University in the history of Judaism, and my first job was at the University of Virginia, where I taught for 7 years. I taught everything. I was the one Jewish studies person there. So I taught courses from Hebrew Bible to American Judaism and everything in between. I learned a lot, and I've been at the University of Washington now for 13 years, and I feel very comfortable here. I'm the chair of the comparative religion program, which I get a lot of pleasure out of, and I feel I've done something to shape the way students here approach the study of religion, and I feel that's been a satisfying life's work.